So only Martinez shared his location with us. I'm really curious where everyone else is from as well. So do share. Nope, no one else is texting anything. That's okay. That's fine. Oh, Liepa Latte, amazing. No way, no snow. How come? Everything is white here. Nice. So cool. Just magic. Oh, wow, Spain. Definitely no snow there. Sam, that's cool.
Actually, there was snow, I guess, in Madrid, or maybe I'm
Oh,
mistaken.
really?
Recently, at least in news.
That's definitely a newsworthy topic, actually. Sam, are you in Madrid? Wow.
Hello, Gustas.
Oh, on the coast. Oh, lovely. So good.
Hey, good.
Hi. Gustas, where are you from? Like, where are you calling in from?
I'm calling from Riga.
Amazing. Also in Riga.
Also
Awesome.
Riga.
Yeah, so good.
Cool.
So I guess like everyone who didn't reply to where they're from, I will automatically assume that you guys are from Riga as well. So that's cool. Anyway, I think we'll give it maybe a couple more minutes because it's just 5:01.
I can give a quick kickoff just to start with, since I'm just get used to give some introductions for the roundtables, and it's actually the third roundtable we're having in a row. Actually, more and more people are joining with every time, so soon it will be. Not sure how we'll be able to manage the discussion, but anyway, hope it will be super engaging today. I just want to share the news that actually in the eCOM360 roundtable we will be launching also the we saw that Slack is not the best for engagement in the daily topics, so we'll be launching also the WhatsApp groups for people who want to connect further and like stay in just one touch. Let's say you have certain problem to discuss or have the certain words for news from our side, from the eCOM360 team. We'll be posting there like super interesting news from the e-commerce specifically, and some certain use cases you can implement. And just let's use it as a group to discuss all our pain points as usually. So feel free to join. We'll drop an email with announcements soon. Feel free to join this WhatsApp group, and let's see how it goes. And yeah, Margot, I believe you'll be the one who will be moving forward today's discussion on search. I believe that just SEO is so technical topic from one perspective. From other perspective, like no business can survive without it. So we need to find a balance between two, how we can really get the use of it without getting maybe too technical into details, but still understanding what are these effective strategies we can implement in our businesses.
For sure, yeah. I'll be hosting the roundtable today. And actually, it's not going to be too technical either, because yes, technical is so important. It's like the baseline of everything, but there's so many other things that can be done and should be done, actually. And we'll just go into several, like 6 actually topics. I'm just thinking if I probably should start. What do you guys think? Should I start? Should we wait for anyone else? Or is it time to just move ahead? How's everyone feeling?
No waiting. These are losers who come late.
All right. Well, 4 minutes is enough of a wait then. All right. So, effective SEO strategies. It's more of a discussion in a way. So, we thought that these 6 specific topics would be actually really cool to look into, because there's always all these huge articles on like, I don't know, 60 strategies and tactics you can implement in 2021 and all that, but actually trying to kind of get to the core of it and don't kind of lose yourself in this SEO FOMO and all the new cool things that you can do. So just wanted to share a bit about the structure of this thing, that after each topic we'll have a little question that we can discuss, and if you have some thoughts to share, maybe something from experience, maybe just some questions, but it's going to kind of help us to kind of engage and interact. And then we won't spend too much time on each question because there's still 6 themes, and we'd like to go through everything. But we'll just play by ear and see how it goes. So the first one, SEO FOMO and what it is. And it is this, like I thought that starting with a quote would be really nice. So this to do really with all the new types of content and new types of tactics that you see online, and a lot of times think, oh, maybe should I do this? Maybe I should implement this too. But a lot of times you would forget that not all websites are created equal, and the strategy should always be unique and tailored. And too many times I see all these LinkedIn posts about like get rich quick tactics, like we did this and in 3 months everything just went through the roof. Like a lot of times that strategy worked for that specific website, but it's not gonna really work for you. So again, with not all hot SEO topics or content types, that will be efficient for your business as well. For instance, podcasting has become such a big thing in the last couple of years, and it's such a great thing for link building as well. But really think through, because it's time consuming. It's a lot of actually work, and how much link building will you get from it? How much actually value will you get from it for your business? So really kind of thinking critically about it based on what you have, what your business is, and who your customers are. So another really funny thing is that still in this day and age, we see quite a lot of recommendations around black hat SEO tactics, which is pretty crazy, like seeing things like white text on white background, or cloaking, or things like that. Just keyword stuffing even still exists. Still, it's a thing, and it just fascinates me how and why. So like really focus on white hat, because Google gets smarter and smarter and smarter, and it just understands things so much better than, like, there's literally just no point in spending time on some kind of old school crazy tactics. And one of the most important points for me personally, every time I work with a client, I feel like it's really important to understand what the resources they have and what are the capabilities, because you can also plan through the moon, through the roof, you know, just all the cool things that you can come up with, but can you actually implement it? So someone said some time ago that SEO is only as good as it's being implemented. So that is also a really good point, because like much better to focus on something specific, something maybe smaller, but something that will be sustainable and then you can actually implement over time, all the time. So that is something in terms of SEO FOMO that happens a lot if you follow the news, and that's something to be wary of. So the first question, do you know any SEO tactics that you have tried, but eventually you got disappointed? Did you try anything like that? Any black hat strategies or anything that you saw that looks cool and you tried to implement it, but it actually didn't work for you? Anyone has any ideas?
I can share one just quickly. Just like what we're experimenting at the moment is like for our partners, adding the links in the footer. Like we're just reaching out to them, guys, please link to us. But we are not sure how it will work. Kinda, it's a no-brainer. Everyone tells, oh yeah, it's going to work. Maybe not. But we are concerned about the relevance of these links. But still, we'll see the results. So that's something what I can share later on the results.
That's interesting. Really would be to look back and see actually how much time was spent on it and actually what's the effect of it. Yeah, because really sad to waste time on things that don't work. You know, also a really good question to think like, okay, at what point do we have that cutaway when we think, okay, after this point, if no results are yielded, like we're not proceeding with that. It's kind of like, do you know this thing with psychology, when you kind of invested too much already and then you can't pull out anymore, like you keep investing and then you lose everything. So that's something also to keep in mind, I feel like, with certain tactics that you're trying to implement but actually don't see any results. Anyone else has any thoughts on this one?
So yeah, from my side, we once tried this, disallow campaign for backlinks, so removing all the spammy backlinks, and it used to be a good tool just to disallow some, backlinks that appeared from nowhere with a low domain rating. But yeah, at the end of the day, we even managed, so there were almost no results. Even we can say that there were like a little bit of drop on organic, about 3%, but maybe it's, just, correlation. But overall, even though Google says that disallow files may work and removing backlinks may work, from my experience, for example, it's not working. So it's just better to just keep all the backlinks in place, except for some, very bad ones.
It basically means if let's say I have an e-commerce site and someone, let's say my competitor, I know their services, for $500 we will kill your competitors, and they simply drop on me hundreds of some links from the porn sites or something like that. So basically, Alex, what you mean that it doesn't make sense to like cancel them, to disallow them, to remove them from crawling. We still can keep them. It doesn't change things a lot. Or when they're a professional working and they try to kill your SEO, most probably you still need to react on it somehow.
Maybe that's the only reason when you need to disallow files. However, also in my experience, we once faced there was a big campaign for some Bitcoin selling website, which was putting backlinks everywhere on the web. So we just saw it for a few websites. They were just spamming with the bad backlinks, but Google was just removing them himself. So they were just not taking in consideration. So Google is smart enough to understand that this one is spammy one, but we just saw it was the big campaign. It was like 5 months ago, some website for Bitcoin sellings.
That's the thing, because Google does say that, hey, like, we understand if it's completely spammy and crazy, then we will not take into consideration, really. So that's nice. That simplifies the life of SEOs all over the world. Yeah. Anyone else has any ideas around this one? Anyone tried anything tricky or shady? And I'll count until 5. And if no one has any ideas, I'm going to proceed with the next slide. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm proceeding with the next slide. So viral is not always valuable. So that's an interesting point, because a lot of times, especially now, I can see that there's a huge rise of digital PR, and in general, virality is a big thing. Everybody wants to be recognized and known, but there are some interesting points sometimes that it doesn't always work as you planned. So you actually need to think it through. So, like, there's going to be a couple of examples here, and one of them, I gave it a score, like a pretty much like subjective score based on several aspects. So, for instance, here we have Momondo. Maybe you are familiar with this campaign, which was run around 4 to 5 years ago, and it was really, really massive, and it reached so many people. It was seen by so many people, but because Momondo is a flight search engine and like travel search engine, but it was doing the cooperation with Ancestry, a lot of people didn't recognize that this whole ad campaign is about actually flights and exploring the world. But actually they thought about, this is about DNA and Ancestry. So actually, in a weird way, the promotion and all the money spent on this campaign by Momondo what all the value was going to Ancestry. And then even more so when the campaign was over and some time went by, not that many links were actually generated in general for such a large campaign, but even that was lost because it wasn't thought through how to redirect it to the right page or to the home page or to some other page, because this page just disappeared. So it's not there anymore, and all the value that was going to it at some point is now gone. So that's kind of like an example of, please think it through. Please make sure that your brand is very specific, and please make sure that you understand what you're doing. And sometimes we look at these large brands and we realize, well, they just have enough money to be super creative, but have they thought it through? So it's really, really cool to have actually limited resources, because you then really calculate every single little thing and you know exactly what you're expecting from the campaign, even though sometimes it can still fail. So still not a complete zero, like still a 4, still some value from it. Just in terms of SEO, it could have been done so much better. Then we have an example of you versus the Kardashians. So I know it's a very intense slide with lots of stripes, but what I wanted to say about this one, so it's good. It got so many backlinks, 268. It was launched in 2017, and the purpose was to actually get some traction for these like bodycon dresses, body hugging mini skirts, sexy dresses, things like that. So the whole landing page was built basically as a like a clickbait, a cool interactive tool, definitely really worth using it and having fun with it. Essentially, you just enter your salary here and then see in how many minutes Kim Kardashian and other Kardashians actually get that money. So, but the problem here in terms of SEO is that, well, how topically relevant is this? Because yes, it's a fun tool, but how do I even know that it's about dresses? You know, it's about Kardashians. So one way to look at it is that they actually could have used retargeting afterwards, after the people visited this landing page, which is a great thing. But again, in terms of SEO, we actually can't really look back and compare their rankings in 2017 and 2021. But if I look back at 2020, I see that actually these landing pages that they were trying to promote, they're not really ranking that well anymore, and they're actually losing traction. So even though there's a bunch of referring domains to these pages, essentially like a secondary layer, it's still not really, you know, getting them to top 3 positions. So that's something to keep in mind. Is it really, really topically relevant? We'll share the slides later after this roundtable, so that you can click on that link here and read through this little case study. Of course, it's like written in a positive way because the agency is promoting itself, of course, but still like something to think through. So it's like 6 out of 10. Another campaign, which is 10 out of 10, in my opinion, is this one for Misguided. So it was done, as I understand, 2 years ago. So yeah, in 2019, 2020. And why it's so high in terms of ranking, 10 out of 10. So it was super, super simple. There was nothing crazy created. It was just this whole landing page. So they tried to rank for dog jumpers. They were ranking number 30. They didn't get much traction. But what the agency did here, they really went smart about it. So they looked at the search volumes and seasonality for it. So that was really cool. They realized that, okay, even if in November, people are searching for these dog jumpers so much, we need to do something in October. And so that's when they launched the campaign. So they literally just made sure that the content on the landing page for dog jumpers is all right. And they created this funny thing for matching jumpers. So it was like a creative ideation where they actually launched it through social media, got some feedback from social media, got a lot of kind of like viral-ish response from there. And then they thought, okay, we can actually go with it and make it bigger. And so they did. So essentially they got 60 backlinks, and they got the dog jumpers Misguided page to number 1 above Amazon, which is mental because you never really see that, which is really, really impressive, and also eBay. So this is done by Rise at 7 agency. I really, really highly recommend following them if you want to like more of those creative ideas, because they're just like really, really fun. And you can see this case study here as well. You'll have that in the slides. So this is really cool because it was done seasonal and it was done super simple with little investment, and it was using the misguided brand in a really fun and cool way, really connecting with the audience on this like personal level, which is really cute. So something like that is definitely cool. And maybe you've seen, this is something super, super new. It just got out like a couple of days ago. So this is Carrie Rose. She's the CEO of the Rise at 7 agency. And so she actually came up with this idea. So the Bernie folding chair. So this is a fake ad. It was not real at all. But literally in a week, it got 100,000 likes. And they actually talk about it in their episode of their vlog, essentially, which is super, super interesting as well. So highly recommend finding that and looking at that. And also, this is just launched today, how to get press coverage and build links. So if you're into this topic, if this is something working that you need for your business with link building and creative ideation and stuff, this is a really, really good session full of inspiration that you can look up. Again, like I'm just big fan of hers. She's just so creative and cool. So really highly recommend that. And then another 10 out of 10, our favorite Pornhub, because like it's impossible to not mention it because they're just smashing it with referring domains. And why? Well, because it's data driven. If you look at their top pages for insights, just 2019, 18, 17, 16, just the general one, coronavirus, like it's just incredible. And all of this data, it's their own data. So why does it work? Because it's unique data, it's their own personal data, and they really capitalize on it without actually doing anything crazy. So if you look through these insights and pages, it's just, yes, they do some nice infographics, but that's not that hard to create. And then they just basically have data. And what is more interesting than that? Like, obviously, like thousands of domains agree. So that is something to also take from here, that you sit on a pile of really cool information always, because you have your analytics, you have your clients, you have your trends, you know your business so well. So like literally capitalize on that. So it doesn't really have to be crazy viral in terms of creative ideation like that Bernie chair. But it can be just really interesting in terms of digging into what's happening within your niche. So out of these all things, there's 7 key elements that I think really are successful for digital PR, elements of a successful digital PR for SEO specifically. So it needs to be data-driven. As we saw, like it needs to be something that people can't just find on their own. This is something unique. This is something really, really interesting to look into. Topically relevant. So that's another really, really key point. Like we looked at the Kardashians, and yes, it's like cool. It's a fun interactive tool. It got links, but how topically relevant to dresses is it? Like maybe not so much. So it would be really nice if it was maybe more so driven into that space of like clothes or something like that, even though it's a really cool tool. Then clear branding. It really needs to be there, like with the Momondo case, where it just kind of overlapped with Ancestry so much that people couldn't really understand what's happening. It needs to be newsworthy. So is this something a journalist will want to write or even respond to? Is there a headline? So one of the ways to do this is like to think headline first. So like start with a headline and then everything else. So is that something that can make a headline in a magazine? If yes, then there's a high chance that it will get publication and a link. So linkable, again, why would you link to it? If everything can be described in press release and explained already in the article, why would that journalist link to it? So again, we want to make sure that it's a bit interactive. It's something else. It's something that you can't just explain in the article, basically. Again, simple. So you don't want to spend like months and months and so much money and so much complexity and development time into this little thing that you're working on. So it needs to be simple for comprehension and for delivery as well. And seasonal, as we all know, seasonal things really work quicker and nicer. So it's like, yes, evergreen content is always definitely there. Like Kardashians is pretty much evergreen, but seasonal stuff, especially if you're trying to promote a specific landing page or a specific service, and you know that there's seasonality around it, then it's going to be definitely like important to adjust your campaign for that. So that was actually the biggest part of all the other ones. And now one good point from John Mueller, our favorite though. So this is something he posted literally several days ago, which really blew my mind, because he says essentially that it's a shame that digital PR is often gets bucketed with the spammy kind of link building. And actually it is just as critical as tech SEO, and probably even more so in many cases. So again, if you don't have the ideal technical structure, maybe, and there's no resources for you to work on it right now, maybe actually it's much better to focus on this kind of digital PR process, as even John Mueller endorses that. So are you using any data-driven digital PR for your business? And have you seen any benefits from that, or any thoughts around it?
I personally hope to do it, but it's really difficult to find the data, like Pornhub.
Really?
Full data. I mean, Pornhub, yeah, it's something with the wide audience, but in the very niche business, can we get the data which is super interesting for everyone? That's the question. So need really to think about this worthy topics to share. So yeah, but that's a good homework, at least for me.
Yeah, I would say that for everyone, you still need to kind of target it towards your customers in a way, like towards your niche. So it's going to be what is interesting for those who buy from me. So that's also some kind of like a different mindset. Otherwise, it can become too overwhelming indeed. Anyone else has any ideas and thoughts? I'm going to be like just dragging it out of you people. Or I won't be able to. Who knows?
So I just, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's kind of hard for almost all the niches to find some data, like data that you can share. For example, of course, every one of us have some data from Google Analytics or Ahrefs or Search Console, but I mean, like sometimes it's just not the point for some businesses. There is nothing to share, especially in e-commerce, because only if you can just, or no.
I'd say there's always something you can look into. Like for instance, sometimes you don't even have to have your own personal data. You can literally look at Google, like keyword search, keyword planner basically, and look at seasonality and think again through headlines. So even for some kind of like specific terms, like, I don't know, like jumpers, or like, I don't know, red jumpers or something like that, by breaking it down by colors, if it's clothing, and like looking at seasonality and seeing like, oh, there, I can see that there's a trend that maybe around, I don't know, February, suddenly red clothing is more popular. And could that be tied to like St. Valentine's Day? Possibly. So now I'm just like going nuts. I don't know if that's true, but like kind of looking at some kind of trends like that and thinking, oh, can we come up with a fun idea to kind of put it into a heading and some kind of discussion around it. So that can work as well.
That's of course. And one more thing that you need to consider building, like, for example, you want to enhance, content for some page which is related to some Christmas, for example.
Yeah.
So you just need to start building the content and backlinks like 6 months prior to it, because if you, for example, that's very important, of course, because if, for example, you just you're going to hit the campaign in terms of SEO. If you just need a lot of time to get Google to index your page to understand what's inside, because for example for PPC, how it works, you just months before you start pushing a lot of ads and everything, but for SEO it doesn't work like that. You just need more time. That's
exactly. So having really like a plan and like a content calendar or like promotion calendar of some sort, like knowing where your target audience could be more engaged and planning accordingly. So it's kind of like living in the future always. But that definitely helps really well. Yeah. Anyone else has any ideas on this topic? Or I'll start counting again. Maybe that's going to be my, need like a timer, like 5, 3, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, next one. Another one really important is intent and intention of your content. So it's about content. As we all know, content is still king, but intent is queen. Like inspired by the Queen's Gambit. If you saw that TV show, it was really good. I loved it. Your content should solve users, customers' issues. And a lot of times what happens is that content for the specific product description would actually be in a very salesy and pushy way, or it would describe just the specifications of the product, but it doesn't really talk much about solving client struggles or issues. And actually, the moment you start writing your content with a focus on like solving the client struggles, it's so easy to like put all the keywords in. Suddenly, it just all makes sense because it literally discusses that whole semantic field. And this is like a really good way to describe products on your pages, because that way you really communicate that caring feeling towards your customers, and you explain that actually this specification, this feature of this product will help you solve this and that, so kind of putting it in really plain words so that people don't even have to think about it. And so a lot of times I really like thinking about the meaning behind the keyword, because it never is the same what is being searched for. Like when someone's searching for an ergonomic pillow, like does it just mean that they really want it? Like, but why do they want it? So like maybe they're thinking, how do I reduce neck pain and sleep deeper and have a general like better life? Or when they're searching for a computer desk, for instance, like what do they think? Like, do they think, oh, I just need a new computer desk, but why? Like maybe it's about improving work from home situation. Maybe the old table is actually broken. Maybe they never had one. Maybe it's for their child. So that's why it's super important to look at the analytics and your demographics and learning more about specifically who are these people buying these computer desks or ergonomic pillows or anything else that you might be selling, because that will really help communicate that solution on the product description much better. So I really love this topic, because a lot of times I'm just seeing some kind of pages when I'm doing some kind of research for myself and trying to buy something, and then like all these specifications, like I don't know what it means, like please tell me how it's going to solve my struggles. And I don't see that very often somehow. That's very interesting. So have you ever used this kind of solution-focused language when describing your products? Or how do you approach this in your life? Your e-commerce for life? And no answers.
So I can jump, I think.
Yeah.
It's always, first of all, just understand what language should be used in terms of content writing. It's better to just sneak peek what your competitors are doing, the better ranking ones. So yeah, it's just the first part. And then I think it's just the more content ideas you have, the more landing pages you need. in these terms. So if you want to write the guideline, for example, on how to use these desks or why they need it, you just create one landing page for just this specific reason. And if you want to write something about which are like styles of desks, then just write another landing page, because no one is reading like large blog posts. I mean, like if you want to attract more customers in terms of like if you will write the content like 5,000 words volume.
Depends. I think for like commercial investigation intent, it's definitely worth writing like long form content, because that's exactly what people are searching for. Like they're trying to decide on something, and then imagine when we're all reading like Amazon reviews, it's really long form content. Like it's a lot of stuff. So I feel like that is definitely helpful. Again, but understanding the intent, understanding that keyword meaning, and that's why like really everything starts with keyword research and SEO in any case. So really knowing your keywords, knowing your semantics very well, really super important.
And knowing language of your customers, potential ones.
Yeah.
Also very important, so that they will search for the keywords they use, because you can just use, very, for example, not like the keywords out of the topic. Like they are very close, but not the same people are searching for. Yeah. Kind of.
That's a really good point, actually, because that's a bit harder to understand. And in that case, I think would be really cool to look through either reviews that your customers are leaving, and maybe run some kind of a script to get those main keywords out, so that you actually know what exactly they're using, and see and match them with keyword research, if that's possible. So sometimes there are some nuggets of wisdom, or even like looking through support communication, which is also so super helpful for understanding like what type of voice your customers are using, what keywords they're using as well. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I can give something too. If you are talking about this customer voice, then I have one thing. I'm doing the buyer persona, but I'm not making it by myself, but I'm calling to the clients and talking with them. And then after that, I'm creating the content. I'm splitting these answers into the funnel stages, and then I'm building the content from those answers. And that's amazing content. And then you can write how long you want, because they will see themselves there. And if this is the blog post for the cold audience, this means it will be perfect for them. And the same for the product page. You are using so that's it's not solution focused, but it's a client focused language in my side.
That makes so much sense as well. Like that's a really great way to do it, actually, and a really smart way. That's why actually user journey is so important for every company. You really need to know your personas. You really need to know at what stage they will know what kind of content. So you're doing it exactly the right way. That's really good to see. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's working really good. If someone wants to, I can send it this interview, because it's like simple interview, but you are getting so much insight from that. So thanks. It reminded me one more time about this thing. Thanks.
Definitely. Like when you join the either Slack channel or the WhatsApp channel, I think it would be really great to actually share some kind of knowledge like that for all of us who are participating today. That would be great. Thank you. All right, so let's move on to the next one then. Long tail, connected to the keyword research in general, and for e-commerce, it's really, really, really important. And a lot of times, a lot of conversions are actually lost for those long tails that include colors, sizes, genders, like length, or any other specific specifics with a search volume that you can find in your keyword research. Because again, as we see here on this little chart, most of the searches are long tail actually. So, and that's like a much higher conversion rate anyway right away, because when you know what you're looking for, you probably will not be going and browsing too much. Like I remember when I bought my first sneakers off a Google ad, I'm usually like not doing that, but then somehow this time I was just Googling like wool, gray sneakers, eco-friendly, and then boom, I had a pair, and I was just like, okay, like I'm just buying it like right away. Like that's being in marketing. I thought, oh, just that's exactly what we were looking for. And it happens, like, and that's why this long tail is so important. And a lot of times these long tails are hidden in faceted navigation, and it's usually either canonicalized or just not indexed at all. So it's really important to look into what is it there that you have that might actually be important for you. Like again, digging into your keywords, digging into your pages, maybe actually creating new pages, just looking into what you can do to capitalize on that huge potential with long tails. And essentially, I just took this image from Neil Patel's guide, added a little link here as well, so that we have the copyright here. And also, he's really good. I mean, I really like his content, even though sometimes he's a bit too much and too bit like, as in too much of a personality, but he still really shares valuable insights, a lot of it. So do you know if you are using long tail keywords for optimizing your listing pages? Have you looked into that ever? And actually maybe you've made some decisions like, oh, I saw that there's an opportunity here with these like red dresses and size L, and that's why I created this page. Or what's your experience with that?
Right now I'm working on the website structure in 8 languages. And
nice.
At the moment I'm doing that long tail research, because we have like main, let's say, product types and categories, subcategories, and I'm digging deep into the details. Yeah, so
that is
I'm
cool.
in the middle of that.
Wow, like I can just imagine how much of how huge of a project it is if it's 8 languages, and also you're looking into long tails, because they probably will be different for each language.
Sure.
That's intense. Wow, like impressive work. Okay. How is it going for you? Like, are you lost yet in all the words, or is it still like, do you still have some kind of structure and the workflow is okay?
Yeah, it's of course I started with my native language, Lithuanian, to make the structure more or less, and then in other languages, of course, I pay attention to their specific, talk to local speakers, and
right,
and learning languages too in the meantime. So,
yeah, that's a bonus.
yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's how I realized I understand Czech, Slovak, and Polish. That was funny. Yeah. Anyone else has any experience as well with this? Martinez, you're impressive. Anyway, just thanks for sharing this. Anyone else has any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so from my experience, again, me, so from my experience, once we had this migration project where, yeah, this layered navigation used long tail keywords inside parameters, even without any canonicals.
Nice.
Yeah, and yeah, it was kind of very interesting that we like accidentally found that these parameters were indexed and they were used, but they were properly, formatted. So it wasn't like just parameter and some like filter equals to 123, but it was like color equals pink. And this parameter was bringing more value to some pages because, some, like, for example, I don't know, like codes, but it was like pink codes. And it was bringing some, like 50, 60 clicks per month, but there were more of these cases per website. And yeah, and they were overall bringing around like 10% of overall website organic traffic per month. So
Wow.
yeah, properly proper redirects were used, yeah, to bring this value, and so to bring this value to another platform we were migrating to. But yeah, it was, I think it was not made, you know, for purpose. It was just working as it was, like a natural way, because the client wanted to have it this way. But yeah, it accidentally worked well in this case.
That's so cool. That's a great like mistake, you know, that actually brings value. That's a really good one. Yeah. So if anyone else has anything to share on this, or if not, I will not count. I'll just move on to the next slide then. Okay, you have 1 second. No. So another really, really important point is structured data. And it's a really interesting topic because it just keeps being updated constantly. And it really is impressive how, like, in a way, Google is smart and independent, but it still needs our help and our support. And if we do give it to him or her, or I don't know, it loves us more. So it's, even Google says for themselves, you know, Google uses structured data to understand the content on the page, which is interesting. But for any e-commerce website, it's super, super important to mark up everything that's eligible for marking up, like literally everything you can find. And that's why it's super important to keep track of new structured data features and what's available for implementation. So you can just look at Google Search Central website and just follow some maybe other influencers in this space. But for instance, one of the latest additions to Rich Results was actually shipping info to do with COVID situation, that actually people wanted to know, okay, when and how is it available? Is it not, like, so it's super, super helpful and useful. And you can literally enrich your experience so much more with structured data. It's a topic that can be like discussed forever. I really, really love the knowledge graphs and how actually Google really matches all the information and even understands what's more important, certain aspects of, like, even if it's a personality, like what's more important, that they're, like, for instance, a star like Kim Kardashian. Is it more important that she's a star or that she is actually the wife of Kanye West? And so Google understands all that, and I'm just fascinated how cool it works. So if you have anything to mark up and you haven't yet, please mark it up as soon as possible, because it's really changing a lot. And we all know that people also ask, kind of graph rich result is now super, super important. My favorite thing to do is to actually look into, like, there's this website called Also Ask that were actually free to use. And just last month, I've noticed that they now don't offer their content for free anymore, so you have to sign up. But still, it's such a great tool to understand as well what other topics people are looking around when they search for your specific keyword. And that really helps building much more immersive landing pages, for instance, by adding FAQ that takes into consideration those specific questions that people ask, especially if they're more like transactional and oriented in a way. So do you know if you're using actually all the structured data that's relevant for your business, or are you using any structured data at all? I can see some nods. Peter is nodding. Peter, what is your favorite structured data?
You've drawn me in. Hello.
Yes.
What's my favorite structured data? So we sell physical products, office printers. We use structured data to yeah, I mean, the more structured data we can set up and find, the better, because, you know, Google will just use it for our benefit, really. I think probably we like the in the Google organic listings. it will show whether our product is in stock or out of stock.
That's a great one. Yeah.
Which is really good at the moment, because there's a in the office printers business, there is a global stock problem at the moment. It's just crazy. Yeah, everybody's working at home. Everybody wants to buy a printer.
Wow.
Yeah, but the manufacturers can't keep up with it, and also being in the UK, the printers are all stuck in France at the moment because they won't come across on the ships and things like that. So we've got multiple problems over here. We're getting a lot of traffic, but a lot of bounces because they come to the page and the printer they want is out of stock. So I think some of the organic listing in Google, where it specifies whether the product is in stock or out of stock, does help.
Definitely, that's such a great case, actually. I've noticed for myself when sometimes I see that, oh, like it's in stock, and then I actually realize that it's not. I'm super disappointed, and I'm actually angry at the brand, and I'm like, I'm never going to visit you again and buy anything from you. I'm going to go to your competitor. So it's really, really, really helpful to use. And what a crazy story.
The reviews is good as well in there as well. The reviews listing, where you get the number of reviews as well.
Reviews are super important, exactly. Yeah, actually for any industry. Yeah, so thank you for sharing. I'm really still fascinated by the story of all the printers being in France, and just everybody wants a printer now. Wow, that's cool. Anyone else has their own favorite structured data aspect, element, maybe? Since no one else has the camera, I can't look at people nodding, which is so sad.
I could share one maybe. I think the organizational markup is pretty nice one. It's a dynamic one, but you can link all the kind of company accounts in organization, the structured markup. So for example, all the social media accounts, so that also Google is and other search engines are better at actually linking together your social accounts as well, that give some kind of offsite signals, positive offsite signals for authority as well. So that can help. And I guess we for Scandiweb, we actually had this, and we also had a Wikipedia page, and we added it as like one of our accounts, and then also it started showing up in these rich results as well. So that was nice.
Oh, that's really cool, actually. Yeah, that's a good one. Huh? Did you
can implement it in Tag Manager, so it's super easy as well. So
yeah, did you see much traffic from it, or like can you trace it as well? Like, of course you can, but like, did you take a look at that ever?
I'm not sure. I know that like the same Wikipedia page became much more visible on the SERPs, so I can't track the traffic to Wikipedia, but yeah.
Yeah, Wikipedia.
Low-hanging fruit if you don't have it yet.
Yeah, 100%. Thanks for sharing. Well, if anyone else has any ideas, please share maybe in the chat as well later for us to all kind of capitalize on each other's knowledge. But I will just move to actually the next and the last aspect of today's webinar. It's about hygiene factors, and I like this little proverb, hygiene is 2/3 of health, and I think it's exactly really relevant to all things to do with tech SEO, and of course mobile performance and mobile experience. And so this year is, like as well as last year, is there's a lot of conversations about core web vitals and in general page experience. And here I thought it's a funny joke that Lighthouse is now your new best friend in 2021, because it does really help with understanding, okay, are we heading in the right direction, and how are we doing with the tech performance in general, and really looking into loading speed and visual stability and mobile friendliness and interactivity and all these things, really looking through what is it that your technical setup is showing and not really ignoring any issues. So really important to keep the SEO, tech SEO in shape at all times, because it's still the basis of everything. And as we remember, 2/3 of health. So really important to have monthly technical SEO. It's really important to look through all the bugs and errors closely and really notice if anything is happening. Search Console is also your best friend at all times. Sometimes like certain bugs keep appearing and you're like, oh yeah, maybe later, and then it's a bit too late. So it's important really to keep track and really close look at what's happening. And one of the really important things, especially for larger websites, is the internal linking. And a lot of times some of the maybe longer tail or some of the maybe more of a hidden in the structure pages don't really get enough visits from Google. So even if you update content, but actually Google visits you like once a month, like how valuable is that? So with this case, it's really, really important to take a look at log files. If you're in doubt, if you think, okay, my website is maybe not performing as much, as great as it should, because I have a hunch that it should, because I've updated all that content, but somehow it's just not moving anywhere. So a lot of times it's to do with the internal linking structure and actually looking at how you can flatten it as much as you can, how you can bring the most important pages higher up, how can you interlink them better. Another really, really important point is to do with migrations and how sometimes, actually a lot of times, if there's a migration that's coming up, the SEO team is not involved in the setup process, but actually only in the QA process. We're like, oh, like we did this, like, so can you take a look? And then you take a look and it's a mess. So really, really, really focusing on making sure that if you have an SEO team, involve the team before the development team starts working on the migration, because this whole like interconnection of the technical SEO and the development is so important. And it really, it's just, you know, a lot of times it's being underestimated, and then you spend much more time and energy on fixing things that can be avoided in the first place with a bit of more of like a planning. Also super important to keep an eye on technical SEO trends. So there's lots of different resources like Search Engine Journal, and as well just Google itself. So just having subscribed to their updates or something like that would really, really benefit, so that you can always know, okay, like, are we on the right track? And then like, what's happening here? What are the new standards? Like mobile first now, that's it, it's done, like nothing else. Like you can't even start your designing process with the desktop anymore. Like you just have to forget about desktop. You need to focus completely on mobile and optimize the experience there. So the questions that I have here, I mean, like we can talk much more about the technical because it's just such a thing. But again, it's so important to kind of keep it like structured, keep it as a workflow, like don't neglect it, because sometimes it might feel like, oh, you know, it's a bit too complicated here and there, and then 2 years later, it's too late. So what's really interesting is whether your SEO team is actually integrated into the development process, and also, do you actually have a consistent track of technical SEO health? That's something I would love to know. So please share.
Maybe I have a question, and not the answer to the question. That's the best way. That's the best way how to answer the question. Ask the different question.
Exactly.
How you would suggest this work if you have like this development team and you don't have this SEO team? So how to better make this cooperation with those teams? Because yeah, that has been my challenge, because I have only development team and I don't have this SEO team. So we are testing different agencies, but they are like giving interesting answers. So how would you see the best cooperation between those teams, and what would be the best way to build the shops and optimize the shops?
That's a really intense situation. I understand you completely. in the past, what helped me was actually education, actually dedicating time to set up a workshop for developers to explain how things work in terms of SEO, so that they understand, so that they have it in their minds already when they think about, you know, like the next project that will kind of involve maybe SEO in some ways. So providing them with information that will allow them to kind of like think about it at least, because a lot of times they don't even know, like they have no idea, they're focused on their things. So kind of expanding their awareness about these things is super, super important. And then really like building that relationship so that they don't shy away from asking about things. But education really, really is key here. Maybe someone else has other ideas in terms of how you approached this in your companies. But Gustavs, I really feel you. Like, just good luck. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting road, but yeah. So the SEO workshop before building something up, make this SEO workshop and make everything clear.
Yes.
Okay, that's cool. Cool. That's something new. I will try to try that, and then let's see how this will change understanding about SEO from development side.
100%. It might feel like a bit of a waste of time, because you will kind of just talk for a couple of hours and kind of nothing, but actually in the long run it pays off so well. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
I mean, what we have a weekly, what we call a performance review meeting, where we not so much the technical SEO. We sit down once a week and we have some pages loaded into GTmetrix, and we just sit down and look at those 10 pages in the history and just see if anything has changed in GTmetrix. We also then go on to the page speed lighthouse test, and we look at 5 different pages, and we record it in a spreadsheet, the timings that Google gives us, and then we have a every week we can then see what's happened, and all right, okay, we can see that the time to first byte has changed, or the first content paint has gone up or gone down, and we can have a look, and most weeks it's just nothing's happened. Right, okay, thanks everybody, see you. But then just occasionally there will be a, oh right, ooh, right, what's happened there? And then we can go and look and track it down. And it's not always something that you would be alerted to, or you would find, but looking at what's reported, you can then just go and have a quick investigation, and right, okay, that's happened. All right, well, that's happened because, right, okay, and you can quite, so it is really important to have some sort of monthly, weekly review of this type of thing, because most of you have to be consistent on it, because 9 times out of 10 it's just going to be boring, nothing's changed, but that one time you may just find something that could lose you a lot of money, and you might not notice for 2 weeks.
Exactly. That's such a great approach to it. I'm really, really happy to hear that you actually have a weekly catch-ups about this and you trace it, because a lot of times companies don't do that, unfortunately, and then exactly like you say, somehow suddenly you're like, oh my God, what happened? Like, what do I do now? So it's really, really important. That's really cool. Oh, that's so nice. Thank you for sharing. Well, I think we're over time, 3 minutes, and we're on time. So that's love from me to you for joining this webinar. Would be really cool if you, if some of you haven't actually just joined yet the network, the eCOM Roundtable network yet. So there's a link, so this link specifically, so you can just click on it and add your data, and then you will be actually suggested to use this either Slack or WhatsApp channel, whatever you prefer, and just to stay in touch. And so I'll keep it on this heart slide because I love it. Or maybe link, maybe that's even better actually. Yeah, that's better. So yeah, any other thoughts or questions about what we have discussed here today?
Will the slides be available?
Yes, 100%, yeah. All right, so it's Gustavs is about to say something.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you for participating. Really, it's really nice to have some feedback and a discussion. Like, because that's the thing. Like, it's just the process of like interacting, and a lot of times SEO is not about like some authority saying this is how you should do it, because the landscape is so different, and it's so important to just share and have this community of support people and just keep on adjusting to the ever-changing environment together. Yeah.
Is there any way to find you outside of this meeting?
As in on LinkedIn or something like that, or yeah, for sure. Yeah. So somehow, I guess, with the follow-up, we will share more details.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. That's amazing. Thank you so much. Yes, Edgar's the slides will be sent out after the presentation for sure. Cheers. Thank you. Well, thank you everyone for participating and joining on this lovely, what is it, Tuesday night. I don't even know what day it is anymore. Sam, thank you. Jorans, thank you too. That's amazing. Yanis, Armands, amazing. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for joining.
Thank you, Margot. It was great.
Thanks, Reynes.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.